The glaciers have carved enormous U-shaped valleys and gigantic granite snow-covered peaks that create the gorgeous backdrop to this wilderness monument. Glacier National Park, the Crown of the Continent, Part 1 of 2. Continue watching to find out more.
Vegan, a larger viewpoint. Okiniksukwa. That's how the indigenous people of the Blackfeet Nation say, "Hello, my friend," in their native Blackfoot language. Kind viewers, I am Steve. The gentle Blackfeet people invite you to pray for the whole of humanity to remember their true celestial nature. Welcome to part 1 of a 2-part series entitled Glacier National Park, the Crown of the Continent.
Give a month at least to this precious reserve. The time will not be taken from the sum of your life. Instead of shortening, it will indefinitely lengthen it and make you truly immortal. Nevermore will time seem short or long, and cares will never again fall heavily on you, but gently and kindly as gifts from heaven. John Muir.
Often referred to as the Crown of the Continent, Glacier National Park, one of America's original 10 national parks, is located in the northern Rocky Mountains in northwestern Montana on the Canadian-United States border. This scenic paradise holds tremendous significance in symbolizing the unity and deep-rooted friendship between the two countries. In 1932, Glacier National Park joined Waterton Lakes National Park in Alberta, Canada, to form the world's first international peace park known as Waterton Glacier International Peace Park. In 1976, Glacier National Park was designated an International Biosphere Reserve by the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, or UNESCO. The International Peace Park became a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1995. Glacier National Park sits on the Continental Divide, the most prominent hydrological divide of the United States that follows the ridge of the Rocky Mountains and shapes the boundary for the drainage systems moving westward to the Pacific Ocean and eastward to Hudson Bay and the Mississippi River. The much-loved park received its name for the numerous glaciers and glacial activity that have formed the property's rugged terrain since the Ice Age over 2 million years ago. The glaciers have carved enormous U-shaped valleys and gigantic granite snow-covered peaks that create the gorgeous backdrop to this wilderness monument. Covering approximately 1,583 square miles or 4,101 square kilometers and 1 million acres of land, Glacier National Park extends across 2 mountain ranges and includes gushing waterfalls, more than 700 lakes, extensive hiking trails, and pristine ecosystems with various prairies, forests, and alpine features. Glacier National Park offers visitors historical richness, geological and glacial uniqueness, picturesque landscapes, abundant flora and diverse fauna, and various activities for adventurers. Unfortunately, like so many miracles of great Mother Nature, this beloved park has not been immune to the devastating consequences of climate change. Archaeological evidence indicates that indigenous First Nations were the first inhabitants in this glacial area and arrived about 10,000 years ago. The nomadic Blackfeet people once resided on the eastern slopes that now lie within the park and on the Great Plains that are situated to the immediate east. The Blackfeet Nation is part of the Blackfoot Confederacy that consists of the Pagan, the Kaina, and the Siksika, meaning black-footed people. Their land now borders Glacier National Park in the east. The Flathead Nation occupied the western region and now reside on the Flathead Indian Reservation west and south of Glacier National Park. The First Nation people hold a deep spiritual respect for nature and the life-sustaining natural environment they live in. You can visit these First Nations of Western Montana, explore the region on guided tours, and experience their culture, traditions, arts, and crafts firsthand. Major annual events include customary gatherings or powwows and festivals. For over 100 years, the Flathead Nation has celebrated American Indian traditions on the 4th of July. The Standing Arrow Powwow and the Blackfeet Nation North American Indians Days are also held that month. Together, the people joyously parade and dance to the rhythm of the drums. The age-old Heart Butte celebration follows in August. Multiple explorations after 1850 created a better understanding of the area that would become Glacier National Park. In 1885, naturalist and conservationist Dr. George Bird Grinnell went on an expedition to the region with noted explorer James Willard Schultz. Enamored by the area's spectacular scenery, Dr. Grinnell described the park's exceptional features in the Century magazine in 1901.
Far away in Montana, hidden from view by clustering mountain peaks, lies an unmapped northwestern corner, the crown of the continent. The water from the crusted snowdrift, which caps the peak of a lofty mountain there, trickles into tiny rills, which hurry along north, south, east, and west, and growing to rivers, at last pour their currents into three seas. From this mountain peak, the Pacific and the Arctic Oceans and the Gulf of Mexico receive each its tribute. Here is a land of striking scenery.
Dr. Grinnell dedicated the next 20 years of his life to protecting the land and having it recognized as a national park. He played an instrumental role in its establishment. In the 1800s and early 1900s, new settlers traveled westward with the railroad, hoping to earn a living. The Great Northern Railway ran along the Glacier National Park's southern border. To encourage customers to use the railroad, the company promoted the natural beauty of the area to the public. With Great Northern's lobbying efforts to the United States Congress, the park became a forest preserve in 1897. Mining, however, was still allowed in the area. Dr. Grinnell, a primary proponent of preserving the original aesthetics and integrity of the land, amplified his conservation efforts with other supporters. Their endeavors finally bore fruit in 1910 when His Excellency President William Howard Taft signed a bill into law designating the destination as a national park. The distinctive geological features at Glacier National Park add to its character and splendor. Most of the rocks in the park are mainly sedimentary rocks from the Pre-Cambrian Age, the earliest portion of Earth's history with recorded geological records. These rocks settled in shallow seas more than 1.6 billion to 800 million years ago. When the Rocky Mountains formed around 170 million years ago, an area of rocks called the Lewis Overthrust pushed 50 miles or 80 kilometers eastward. Since the overthrust was hundreds of miles or kilometers long and several miles thick, older rocks began replacing newer ones. Currently, the Proterozoic rocks on top are approximately 1.4 to 1.5 billion years older than the Cretaceous age rocks underneath. Glacier National Park consists of the world's finest preserved sedimentary rocks of the Proterozoic age. The majestic mountain scenery serves as a recognizable landmark for the reserve and has been greatly shaped by the overthrust. Chief Mountain, a secluded summit located at the park's eastern boundary, rises 9,085 feet or 2,769 meters above the Great Plains. There are 6 mountains there that sit over 10,000 feet or 3,000 meters in elevation. At 10,466 feet or 3,190 meters, Mount Cleveland is the tallest amongst them. Triple Divide Peak is another significant feature at the site. It is considered the hydrological apex of the North American continent. Water from this peak flows into the Pacific, Arctic, and Atlantic Oceans. Perhaps the most distinguishable and iconic feature at Glacier National Park are the glaciers themselves and the formations they have left behind. The glaciers of long ago have shaped the rough landscape of this exquisite wilderness, sculpting mountains, valleys, and lakes. The Garden Wall is a steep 14.5-mile or 23-kilometer alpine trail within the park that is blanketed with lovely wildflowers during the summer. This scenic route is a splendid example of a mountain ridge formed by the erosion of glaciers on both sides, called an arete. Another commonly observed attribute is the amphitheater-like depressions with precipitous walls that have been created by smaller glaciers eroding the mountains and valleys at higher elevations. These basins are known as cirques. Enthralling waterfalls cascade from hanging valleys that have undergone glacial erosion, such as Florence Falls, where the water cascades over stone ridges. St. Mary's Falls and Virginia Falls are a popular and scenic 50-foot waterfall in the park, and with the spring melt, the 2-tiered Appoquinee Falls also provide an impressive view. The first tier from the top of the cliff is a free fall, which transforms into a cascading fall for the second tier. With awe for the exceptional splendor of Glacier National Park, we thank God for the nurturing natural beauty that surrounds us. For more information on Glacier National Park, please visit nps.gov/GLAC. I became a vegetarian after realizing that animals feel afraid, cold, hungry, and unhappy like we do. Cesar Chavez, vegetarian. Various floras adorn the pristine landscape at Glacier National Park. With its alpine scenery and deep valleys of ancient forest, the park is home to over 1,100 plant species and a diversity of wildlife. 71 species of mammals inhabit this wondrous paradise, including mountain goats, black bears, lynx, wolverines, wolves, moose, Rocky Mountain elks, white-tailed deer, river otters, and porcupines. There are also almost 300 species of birds. A utopia for bird watchers, Visitors can view the bald and golden eagle, America's pride, year-round at the park. The reserve is inhabited by 23 species of fish and a few species of reptiles, the western painted turtle and 2 species of garter snake, as well as amphibians. Another interesting inhabitant in the reserve are the wolves. What is unique about the wolf population at Glacier National Park is that they naturally recolonized in the park during the 1980s after human activity had eliminated them from the park for some 50 years prior. Although most famous for its amazing mountains, Glacier National Park is also home to many lakes. The park consists of more than 130 named lakes. The largest, Lake McDonald, sits in a U-shaped valley that was sculpted by mighty glaciers. Impressive peaks surround the crystal clear lake. St. Mary Lake, which is northeast of Lake McDonald, is the second largest lake in the park. Located at an elevation of 4,484 feet or 1,367 meters, St. Mary Lake has icy cold waters. A tiny island known as Wild Goose Island sits within the lake and is one of the most photographed spots in the preserve. Here, you may spot a contented grizzly bear and his family roaming near the lake. Next is Avalanche Lake, uniquely crafted by meltwater from the Sperry Glacier. Currently, the lake still receives water from that glacier. Another incredible sight is Iceberg Lake, with its aquamarine waters resting at an altitude of 6,094 feet or 1,857 meters. A further 2,953 feet or 900 meters above soars Iceberg Peak, Mount Wilbur, and the Continental Divide. Iceberg Lake receives little sunlight since it is surrounded by these massive peaks. As a result, the water and nearby cliff walls accumulate ice and snow, creating a majestic and picturesque environment. As one of the top 10 most popular national parks in the United States, Glacier National Park provides travelers with a variety of activities: sightseeing, camping, hiking, or backpacking on more than 700 miles of trails, birdwatching, cross-country skiing, bicycling, and much more. Becoming vegan has given me a greater purpose, something bigger than myself to fight for, and fight I will. David Carter, vegan. Let's pause to thank Mother Earth for her life-sustaining benevolence. We'll be right back, here on Supreme Master Television. Welcome back to part 2 of a 2-part series entitled Glacier National Park, the Crown of the Continent. For thousands of years, the glaciers have been the most important feature of the landscape at Glacier National Park. The glaciation that shaped the magnificent summits concluded about 12,000 years ago with the last ice age, while the smaller alpine glaciers apparent on the mountainsides were created around 7,000 years ago. From a geological perspective, these alpine glaciers are regarded as new. At the beginning of the most recent cooling, the Little Ice Age, 1550 to 1850, the glaciers expanded in size. But in the mid-19th century, scientists looked back over the past 100 years and found that, of the recorded 150 glaciers in the park, many had disappeared and others had retreated significantly. Currently, Glacier National Park has only 25 active glaciers that continue to move as a result of thawing and melting. Climate change has had a catastrophic effect on the glaciers. The average annual temperature at the park and nearby areas has climbed an astonishing 34.4 degrees Fahrenheit or 1.33 degrees Celsius, 1.8 times more than the global mean. As long-term average temperatures rise, the glaciers begin melting faster than new snow can accumulate. The melting causes the glaciers to shrink and retreat, which has scientists and environmental conservationists very concerned. Sperry Glacier, located on the west side of the Continental Divide and on the north slope of Gunsight Mountain, was once one of the largest glaciers in this park. Since the mid-19th century, Sperry Glacier has receded a shocking 75% from approximately 930 acres. Another glacier that is in danger of disappearing within the next decade is Grinnell Glacier. One of the top photographed glaciers, Grinnell Glacier lies in the heart of the park, in the Lewis Range of the Rocky Mountains at an elevation of about 7,000 feet or 2,100 meters. This phenomenal glacier covered 710 acres in 1850, but in 1993 had reduced to cover only 220 acres. In the last half-century, some of the glaciers have shrunk an astounding 80% from their original size. Scientists estimate that persistent climate change may cause all of Glacier National Park's active glaciers to dissipate by 2030. The loss of glaciers will not only dramatically affect the natural aesthetics of this spectacular sanctuary, but it will also have a detrimental effect on the park ecosystems as well as many other irreversible consequences. The glaciers serve as very important frozen water reservoirs. In the summer, when there is a drought and the streams have little to no flow, the glaciers provide much needed fresh water. Many species of aquatic insects depend on the additional water in the streams as well as its cooling effect. Without it, the insects are in danger of becoming extinct, thereby upsetting the food chain. Additionally, native fish species are at risk due to the warming of the waters. Park rangers are further concerned that wildlife that rely on the cool weather provided by the glaciers for survival may also lose their food source. Due to climate change, there is now substantially less water in these mountain snowpacks. The warmer temperature sees them starting to melt at least 2 weeks earlier in the spring. People residing in the state, nearby communities, and park wildlife rely on these glaciers for fresh drinking water. Warmer global temperatures, drier conditions, and less meltwater means that increasing water demands will not be met. The glacier meltwater plays an integral role in generating electricity as it passes through hydroelectric dams. The water supports local vegetation, agricultural crops, and fire management. Less meltwater means that as the fire season extends, there could be more frequent fires with increased acreage burned. Fires can destroy properties, threaten the lives of humans and animals, create dangerous air quality, and deter tourism, creating economic hardship for the area in many ways. Rising temperatures also threaten the existence of alpine meadows and wildlife habitats at higher elevations. As the natural balance of the ecoclimate is upset, forests die, wildfires increase, and habitats are destroyed. Glacier National Park officials have adopted certain changes to alleviate issues, initiating hydro and solar power projects, installing recycling programs, and motivating guests and employees to travel by foot or bike instead of car when visiting the reserve. These are, however, only partial fixes. There is one very simple and permanent solution to climate change, and it starts with the food on our plates. Adopting a vegan diet is not only delicious and good for your mind, body, and soul, but it is also the most effective solution to halt global warming, thereby protecting our amazing planet and preserving its precious wonders of nature, such as Glacier National Park. All information concerning the scientific evidence of climate change and its solution is in Supreme Master Ching Hai's book, From Crisis to Peace, free for download at crisistopeace.org. For more information on Glacier National Park, please visit nps.gov/GLAC.
Vegan, 'cause you are a wonderful being.
Cherished viewers, thank you for your wonderful company. May your hearts flourish with compassion and faith evermore.
Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule and suprememastertv.com/NB.